Hey, this is Michael from the Bravery, and you're watching lxjovem.
What do you remember the most? What's your most vivid memory of the gig you played in Portugal last year?
It was great. We did a gig here. It was a festival. It was in Porta with the Foo Fighters played, I believe. And, unlike a lot of places we go to, because we're always kind of one country to the next on tour, we actually got to see Porta and walk around and kind of see all the churches. And it was great. It was just kind of like little quaint, narrow streets. And it was great. The fans were awesome. They're kind of more animated than we had expected. We come to places like Portugal, and, we don't know what to expect. So the reaction was great. We're kind of looking forward to tonight.
Did you expect all the success from the first album?
When we were making the album, we made the album solely for ourselves. It was never really intended to be heard by anybody else. Before we were signed, or really kind of after not even playing a year of shows, we kind of just made the album. It was finished in almost the form it came out on. And people just started to hear the clubs we were playing, and we made a really terrible website just to get the songs up, and we put 3 songs, and before they were mixed or mastered or even finished.
Nowadays, there's always MySpace.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you the truth. We were like maybe the first of 3 bands on MySpace.
Really?
If you go back, if there's records, I'm not lying. That we were definitely like in the top 5 of the first bands to use MySpace, and it was absolutely a real big help for us. And we allowed people to kind of download the songs, and then DJs from around the world, everywhere from Boston to California to Zane Lowe with BBC in London, just downloaded it from word of mouth and played it on their station. Well before we were signed. So I think people just kind of took to it. It was not us kind of going and shoving it down anyone's throat. We never intended to do that. We never will do that. We make music that we want to make and think is not being done at that time. And if people like it, people like it.
Why the name The Bravery?
I think for a number of reasons. 1, it's easy to remember. 2, it looks good, and I think it really, the main reason is because it does reflect a lot of kind of the sentiments lyrically in songs, and we're all at kind of the age where we've all been playing music for most of our lives, and it's kind of like you coming from New York City, it's like very, very type A, fast moving. You're kind of more likely to get a job you don't want to do just to kind of live there and afford it rather than actually do what you want to do. So I think the name kind of is kind of representative of us kind of actually going and pursuing what we actually want to do, rather than getting sucked into what most people do.
There's a certain fire to it, certain flame to the name The Bravery.
Yeah. And it's also it's just like, don't be too serious about anything. It's like actually go and have fun and enjoy yourself. Which is why our shows. You shouldn't. We don't want people at our shows to kind of sit there and just stare at us. They should. We want them to be energetic. We want them to enjoy themselves, because most of the other time, it's you have to actually live in the real world. So.
Yeah, it's an escape, so to speak.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
How often do you get the little joke? It was an honest mistake. Is it still funny?
It was never funny. You know what? I take that back. It was funny the first time I heard it. Fortunately, people don't get too carried away because I think they realize it's not that funny. But you do get the person with really bad judgment who just does it over and over and over again.
Like 5 times in a row or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so don't do it.
Okay. I was tempted, but then I realized.
Yeah.
Then I fell into my own senses, basically. Which bands have you enjoyed playing with the most?
Oh man, it's hard to say. I mean, we've been so fortunate this year of bands we got to play with. Both opening up for, but also, we love bands that we've taken on tour with us. So now we're currently on tour with Depeche Mode, who we admire a bunch, and we've opened up for U2, we've opened up for Duran Duran, and it's kind of crazy opening up for these kind of bands who've been around forever.
Legendary.
Yeah, and at the same time, we play with a lot of current bands, like Block Party and Kaisers and all these bands that are kind of our contemporaries. And then also upcoming bands that we really love, like Mondo Dio from Sweden, we're big fans of theirs, or Ambulance Limited from New York, who we're big fans of, and it's been great, and you get to see these bands live, it's been good. It's been a very fortunate year for us.
Do you think there's a new way, not a new wave, but a new type of New York sound at the moment?
I don't think so. I think there's kind of a misconception that like there's kind of a universal sound in New York. I think that, if you actually look at it, all the bands that actually gain recognition outside of New York don't sound anything alike. We don't sound like Interpol. Interpol doesn't sound like the Strokes. Strokes don't sound like the Yeah, and I can go on forever. I think, there's definitely a vibe in New York that allows bands to kind of make interesting music. I think they're very liberal-minded, and you have a lot of venues that kind of, allow people at any level, any band, to play at. We have a lot of pride coming from New York, and we like being, associated with New York, and because I think it's a very liberal-minded place. But I don't think there's any sort of certain movement at all. I think it's what allows us to kind of make new music, and in the next album it'll allow us to kind of move in different directions.
How important is it to have really good hair for a band?
Well, if you look at the history of hair on rock bands, it's got a good record. It's I don't know, the bald guy sometimes or most of the time doesn't work. Let's put it that way,
Midnight Oil.
Yeah, good example.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.